What's going on, everybody? Jonathan and Luke here. We're recording this May 31st, 2020. You guys will be hearing this June 1st. We wanted to take a few minutes here before we start the show. As everyone knows, this past week, George Floyd was tragically murdered by the police in Minneapolis. And since then, just kind of the entire nation has just cried out in pain. Just what seems like people are hurting. People are tired of not being treated fairly. So Luke and I, we really just wanted to take a few minutes. We felt like it's our duty as humans, just as part of humanity. We felt the need to take a few minutes to discuss this, on the podcast before we talk about things that just quite frankly pale in comparison when we're talking about how important they are.
Yeah, man. Like you said, we'd be doing a disservice to the human race and to the fans of this podcast if we didn't make a statement of some sort about this and have a dialogue about it. First and foremost, we want you guys to understand that Jonathan and I are white males, as you guys know, and we have no idea what it is like to be in the African American community. We don't know what it's like to be scared for our lives in some instances. We don't know any of that stuff. Pretty much the biggest privilege of all is safety. And that is what Jonathan and I experience all the time, day in and day out. And sometimes, it's not recognized like it should be. So we stand with George Floyd's family and everyone that is affected by this. And Jonathan, there's Zay Jones, who plays for the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm not sure if you saw it, but put out, when people are kind of wrestling with, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to contribute. I don't know how to help. I want to help, but I'm not sure. That coming from the white community, right? And so Zay Jones put this out, and this is kind of just how you can get started. Zay Jones shared this and tweeted this out, and he said this. I'll just read it verbatim real quick. But he said, "I was just at a local home goods store with my cousin getting furniture for my place when an elderly white woman approached me at the checkout counter. She looked at me with tears in her eyes, then said, 'I'm from Minneapolis, and I just want you to know, you matter to me.' I hesitated. He said, I hesitated to hug her because she was wearing a mask from practicing social distancing, but I asked if she wanted a hug, and she folded into my arms. She cried while she told me how important it is to spread love. I didn't get her name, but I'm grateful for the encounter. Beautiful hearts still exist. Be the example, be the light, love others." And Jonathan, I think that encapsulates it perfectly as what we can do as white people in America. Text your friends that are black. Talk to people in public that are black. Do anything you can to make it known that I see you and I love you and I hear you. I think that is really the first best step to take. And then also you can do things, obviously, like call the office in Minneapolis, the mayor's office, and talk to them about it. Say, we want justice. We want this. You can also donate. I know there's a lot of links going around for causes for, these things, George Floyd's family, everything like that. Obviously, you had Ahmaud Arbery's family and that whole incident that happened a couple weeks back as well. So, Jonathan, just been a really tough month here. 2020, not off to a good start, as we already knew, but this makes it so much worse. But thoughts and prayers to those people, and I hope we do more than just talk. I hope we take action, and I think this is where we can start.
I really think that you put it beautifully, Luke. Like you said, we don't have the same experience that black people have had in this country. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If you just take the time to speak with black people about the way that their experiences are very different in a day-to-day basis, in a multitude of experiences, just because of the fact that they are black, and it's not right. It's not fair. You mentioned that you and I are both white, like I said, so we haven't had those experiences. Another thing that we have in common is the fact that we're both Christians. We both believe in Jesus Christ as our Savior. And I know a lot of people don't share that point of view with me, so if you guys could you might want to shut the podcast off or fast forward or whatever it is right now, but I would just ask you not to. Just hear me out here. I'm not trying to preach. I'm not trying to do anything like that. I know there are so many people that have felt hate or prejudice from people that are claiming to be Christians, whether you're part of the LGBTQ community or black or anything like that. If you've ever walked into a church and felt uncomfortable because you felt like others were judging you, please understand that that is not what Christ represents. That's not what Christ would want. Luke, the conversations that you and I have had over the past couple of days, I just always go back to the command of Jesus that says, love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? And I really feel like just with everything in my body, my heart, my mind, that if we would just all practice that, even if you're not a Christian, if you just take that line, if you love others the way that you love yourself, we wouldn't have these problems, right? In 2020, if you still hate or judge other people off of the color of their skin, just wake up. Like there's just no room for that in our society anymore. Yeah. It's disgusting. It's wrong, and I hate it. I hate it so much that, like, especially right now, like, everyone's dealing with the coronavirus. So, like, you're like, okay, hopefully that's something that can unite us. And we haven't seen that. Like, we've seen, like, this partisan divide on what side of the aisle you are. And now we're seeing it in our country based off of what the color of your skin is. And I really just hate it. But that's really what I would preach. That's what's on my heart. Is that if we were to just love others the way that we love ourselves, it could just alleviate so much of this. But just to echo what Luke said, like, you can't be silent anymore. Like, you can't just watch this happen to people over and over and over again. And just because it's convenient for you, like, I'm sure there's going to be people out there that don't want to hear this or maybe, don't want to listen to the podcast anymore or whatever. But I don't care. I know you don't care. We really felt like we needed to say something to, like, this really isn't going to do much, probably in the grand scheme of things. And we don't have the answers, right? I don't, this is such a complicated, issue that's just like embedded into the, like, foundation of our country. It seems like that I don't know how to fix it. I don't know what the answer is, but I just know that me, my family, your family, we're going to be, like, doing our part to try to, like, rid the world of this problem. It's just it's not right. It's not right.
It's not at all. And it's the world we live in. But like I said, text, call your black brothers and sisters. I know I have. Let them know you love them, that you stand with them, and it hurts, and I know it hurts just as bad and even more for those in the black community. So our, again, thoughts and prayers out to them and everyone affected. We will get better. I promise. I will start doing my part. I was silent for far too long. So
well, thank you guys so much for listening. And just like we're saying, just love your neighbor. Love everybody. It sounds corny, but that really, like, at the root of it can solve these problems that we're having. Just treat people equally. I mean, I don't want to go back to, like, the golden rule, treat others the way that you would want to be treated. But it sounds terrible that we still have to tell people this in 2020, but that's what it comes down to. Just treat others the way that you would want to be treated, and just love people. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll get the show started. What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. It is June 1st, 2020. Luke, what it do, baby?
What it do, baby?
What's going on, brother?
I'm ready for this season to come back, Jonathan. We finally have some dates. We knew there was a hard cutoff. We've talked about it so much to the point of exhaustion. We are almost there, Jonathan. The only thing that we have to figure out now, or not us, thankfully, is how they come back. What is the format? We have seen so many people give opinions, some good, some terrible. And they're just trying to find, what's the way they're going to come back? How are they going to make everyone happy? There's some stuff that's come out that's kind of irritating, such as, the NBA is going to pretty much force the Pelicans into the playoffs because of their love for Zion Williamson.
At least give them an opportunity. Yeah.
And, that's great, I guess, in terms of more excitement. I think that it creates a lot more excitement. It'll just kind of feel discounted and weird if the Pelicans do make a run. There's just a lot of stuff that's kind of just weird about everything. It fits the bill of 2020, I'll say that.
Oh my, you're not lying, brother. So this is my thing, right? Before we're basically today we're going to break down some of these formats, what we think of those, like what some of those formats could look like if you guys haven't already seen that on social media and all that stuff. But my thing is like, all right, so now like we're to the point where we're really just talking about, all right, how are the games going to work? Right? That's what we're talking about at this point. They're basically like, it seems like it's happening at Disney. At this point, there's not really any talk about Vegas anymore. It's just Orlando. It's Disney. Like, it's happening at Disney, right? Mm-hmm. There's no talk about like, oh man, how are we going to like test these players? How are we going to keep them safe? Blah, blah, blah. All the talk right now, at least from what we're hearing, that all might still be happening behind the scenes. But every time Woj tweets something out, or Brian Windhorst tweets something out, or Shams Charania tweets something out, it's about the format of the league, right? Mm-hmm. My whole thing is, how hard is this to decide? Like, I know it's not easy, but, like, it seems like most of the logistics have already been worked out, right?
Yeah.
The league wants to make as much money as possible, right? Obviously, they've been losing money for months and months and months now, and they want to make it fair. I get that. But, like, how many meetings or talks or discussions does it seem like now where it's like, oh, we're just talking about more possibilities. We're not voting. We're not making any decisions. We're just talking about what could happen.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just dying for basketball to the point where like just go into the room, like make sure there's a bathroom on the premises, order in food, order in coffee, whatever kind of caffeinated beverages you need to stay awake, and don't leave that room until this is figured out.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, they probably have to figure out TV stuff and whatever. They got a lot of contracts probably to sign, and
I guess
reading the fine print, a lot of stuff I think that we don't understand. But and they also, I think that they're kind of, they're the first league that shut down because of COVID. They're kind of leading the charge and kind of trying to make a model for how organizations and sports leagues can follow their lead. But yeah, I mean, I'm ready for that that tweet to come out that says all 400 NBA players have been tested, 0 positive. Let's get to it. I know that the Premier League, soccer, of course, they tested all their players, which, Jonathan, is more than double the NBA. 1,130 players, club and staff, were tested. 0 tested positive.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. And you gotta wonder. It's FIFA. They're kind of corrupt. Are they really all positive? I don't know. I mean, I hope, but I hope I hope it is true, and I hope it's true because that means that the NBA players can we can test 400 plus of them and all the staff and get 0 positive results. I think that's obviously what everybody wants, just to get back into this. And like we saw, that late July date is pretty much the targeted return of the NBA.
Yeah, maybe I'm just being like, I don't know, like a spoiled brat or whatever, but I'm just dying for basketball. I just wanted to come back. I want to know when it's coming back. I want to know that it's like for sure coming back, because everything seems like we're like 95% of the way there. But until it's like, okay, it's actually happening, we're coming back, this is when training camp is going to happen, and then like we're actually getting into the season, that's when I will allow myself to get excited. Now it's just, we're 2+ months now away from the suspension, the hiatus of the NBA, and I'm really just excited to get back. But enough about that. Let's talk about some of these formats, right? So, like I said, it definitely seems like this is all going to happen in Orlando at the ESPN Worldwide of Sports. Wide World of Sports. Whatever.
World.
I've never
Wide
been
World
there,
of
dude.
Sports.
The ESPN Wide World of Sports. That makes so much more sense. But like I said, I've never been there, So
It's a wide world of sports, man. That's all it is.
the worldwide of sports, the wide
No,
world.
It's the wide world.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, the wide
you
world
go.
of sports. So Kevin O'Connor with The Ringer kind of put this idea out there that I guess there is some talks within the NBA Board of Governors that they could come back in like a World Cup style where you have a group stage where I think the idea was having 4 different groups of 5 teams. Setting each team up as a tier. So you take the top 20 of the league, put them all into these groups, have them all play each other twice. So each team would play 8 games, and then the top 2 teams from each group would just move on to the playoffs, and we would move forward with 8 teams. So it would basically take place of the first round. So I don't really like that because if you kind of break this up into tiers by record, it doesn't end well for the Magic. That's it would be very, very difficult for the Magic to make it out of. Doesn't matter how you break the groups up. You and I had discussions about, all right, well, what if we put them in a group with the Lakers? Oh, what if we put them in a group with the Bucks? Each way, it just does not end well, and the Magic are eliminated.
Yeah, trust us. We broke down different scenarios. We wrote our own groups out on paper with our own methodology, and it doesn't. Any way you cut it, listen, Jonathan. The only way that the Magic get any good end of this deal is if they played regular season games and then went into a classic playoff format, which it seems like that's out the window. We are not doing a classic playoff format. If the most normal thing that it seems like we would be doing is doing 16 teams all by record and of the league standings, not the conference standings. So that and guess what, guys? The Magic still play the Bucks in that scenario. So
it's just inevitable.
The
like
only
death,
way,
taxes, and the Magic playing the Bucks in the first round.
The only way that is avoided is if they play a few regular season games, but it doesn't seem like we're going to get to that. And we talked about when Keith Smith was on a few weeks back, he talked about how they have that threshold of games they need to reach. I believe it was 70.
Yeah.
And we're a few games away from that, right? And I think that somehow they're able to, and this was because of local TV program deals. I don't know how exactly they're going to even do that, how it's going to be televised. Will the group stages be locally only, or will they do it on TNT, ESPN, like whatever, ABC? I have no idea how that's going to look, but I'm assuming maybe those group stages where I think they said each team will play everyone twice, and then the top 2 teams at the end of that will advance to that next round of like a more of a playoff format with 8 teams left. But maybe they use the group stages as like additional games to telling maybe local programs, you guys can air this too, and right. I don't know how that looks. I'm not gonna act like I know, but maybe that's a way that they're working around it. Either way, I mean, it is a fun concept, but it does fit. Like I said, it fits the bill for 2020. But as a Magic fan, it doesn't look great. As a Magic fan, I'm not too excited for that. As a basketball fan, I'm pretty excited for that.
Well, so this is, I guess, my philosophy and my feelings on the entire situation of how do we come back? What does that look like? Is there going to be regular season? Do we just jump straight into the playoffs? What's the playoff seeding look like and everything like that? This is how I feel, okay? Since the beginning of March, I have had less than a handful of what I would call normal days, right? Everything that we do now is so out of the ordinary. Would it kill us, Luke, to get something that is normal, something that we're used to? We're all saying, oh, we just want things to be normal again. We just want things to be normal. Then why are we doing this? Just give me the East 1 through 8. Give me the West 1 through 8. Let that play out. Let the Lakers or the Clippers or whoever meet the Bucks or the Raptors or whoever in the finals, and just let that happen the way that it's supposed to happen, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're talking about not putting an asterisk on all of this stuff, right? You know what I mean? Let's say the way that it turns out, the Lakers end up playing the Clippers in like the second round or something crazy like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not what we're looking for to happen at all. Like you want the best teams playing the best teams at the end of the year, and that's what we want to see.
Yeah, it'll be weird if we had like Lakers Clippers NBA Finals. And
Exactly.
But the thing is, Jonathan, it's already gonna be weird. We're gonna be watching them play in Disney.
I just want something that's the same. That also benefits the Magic. Don't get me wrong, that's a large part of this. I want the ideal situation for the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, I mean it very much does suck that the Magic are gonna probably play the Bucks. And if they go to group stages, the Magic don't get it. There's gonna be two teams at least that are better than the Magic from a talent standpoint. So, yeah, I mean it doesn't look too likely for us, but I guess this is just another year of NBA playoff experience, Jonathan.
Well, like we were until like the last 2 weeks, we were kind of holding on to hope that maybe Jonathan Isaac were to come back, and in my opinion, that completely transforms our chances. But now that we know that he's just now running like in that anti-gravity treadmill, like that's just not happening, right? Mm-hmm. So like now, like why, if you want to do like the seedings like 1 through 16, like regardless of conference, like whatever, okay, but like give the Magic we're closing in on the 7th seed. Give them that chance to get the 7th seed. Give the Pelicans a chance, or the Pelicans a chance to get to the 8th seed, or give the Grizzlies a chance to be like, no, like we had this 8th seed all year. Yeah, the Pelicans went on a little bit of a run there, but like no, like this is our 8th seed. Let Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson, Brandon Clark, let those young guys be like, no, like you. I don't care if you want the Pelicans in this tournament. We're not letting it happen.
Yeah.
I would hate to just see us go right to the playoffs, even though like that might have to happen just because of like time constraints and when they want the league to start and wrap up and everything like that. But we've been talking about how this might not be the best product. Now, is that like the biggest priority in the world? The best product? No. At this point, give me any freaking product. I'm dying, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and the I think the frustrating part, obviously, Jonathan, is like I touched on earlier, that if the Magic just played a few more games, we're a half game behind the Brooklyn Nets. And by like 538.com had us at a 99% chance to make the playoffs. And guess what? They had the Brooklyn Nets at a 98% chance. So clearly that means Magic hopped the Nets. Our schedule is easier to finish the season. The Nets schedule is harder. So that is the frustration, but like you said, it's not like the league could have even planned for this. It just kind of all happened, and now we're where we are 2 months into it. And I'm just glad that we have that kind of resume date in July.
Now, something else that you mentioned, this doesn't really have anything to do with the format and the way the league is going to return. And I've actually heard this from a ton of people. Once again, I'm a little bit biased because it doesn't exactly benefit the Magic. But a lot of people, for a while now have been talking about when it comes to the playoffs, let's get rid of conferences altogether. Just every single year, take the best 16 teams, seed them at that point based off of record, and move forward. So why are you a proponent of that?
I just think conferences don't make sense to me. I think that conferences, aside from letting 38 and 44 teams into the playoffs in the East every year, it benefits those teams because they get playoff experience. But I just think that conferences are used for scheduling purposes, so the difference of playing a team twice, 3 times, or 4 times. And obviously that's why divisions are there as well. So I just don't get it. I don't think that it's really I just don't see a huge reason why we still have them other than scheduling purposes, to be honest with you, and giving those low-tier teams a chance to make the playoffs and get that playoff experience. I don't know, man. I don't get it. I think 1 through 16, if they do that this year, we'll get a glimpse of it and kind of maybe some more exciting rounds. But I think we're getting to the point where the East is kind of catching up to the West. But I still think that the West has just been superior for so long, and it's just like you have teams in the West who are 8 seeds that would be like 5 seeds in the East, 4 seeds in the East. So it's just, like I said, just doesn't make too much sense to me.
Well, in my opinion, when people, talk about, like the West being so much stronger or like the East being so much stronger, I think it's really cyclical, right? Like, especially when we talk about like the absolute best teams. So if we go back to like, like the 60s, you're looking at like the Boston Celtics, right?
Yeah.
Bill Russell. We get into the 70s, you're talking about, Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain. You're talking about the Lakers, right? You get into the 80s, you're talking about the Celtics, and you're talking about the Lakers. You talk about the 90s, you're predominantly talking about the Bulls. 2000s, you're talking about the Lakers. You're talking about the Spurs. The 2010s, then we were talking about the Heat and the Cavs and the Warriors. So, like, in my opinion, like, yes, right now, and what seems like for quite a while now, it's been, like, predominantly the West. But just throughout the history of the NBA, it's just like a cyclical thing. It goes back and forth, and it just seems like this cycle that we're in right now for, like, at least, maybe the last 10, 12 years, maybe even a little bit longer than that, it predominantly has been the West. So my thing, and the reason that I don't know that will ever change, so let's say you do seed all these teams 1 through 16, right? And let's in the second round, let's say the Lakers end up playing the Magic or like the Knicks, for instance. So that entire series, you're traveling back and forth, which would normally just be for the finals. So like each team is traveling the exact same amount, so it's equal throughout that series. Yep. But let's say then in the next round or during that round, the Clippers, for instance, were playing like the Trailblazers or the Kings or the Warriors. They move on to the next round where they would meet the Lakers in the NBA Finals. For the last 2 weeks, the Lakers have been traveling back and forth throughout the whole country when the Clippers were just really keeping it on that West Coast there. In my opinion, like, I don't know if you've ever traveled a lot. If I make a 9-hour drive, when I get back home and we have to make that 9-hour drive, like, I don't want to do anything for like a week.
Driving's more inconvenient than flying.
Well, of course it is. But if you're driving from L.A. to New York, that's still a 7-hour flight. That's still 7 hours when you're sitting there doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I get it to an extent.
This is about keeping the Magic in the playoffs, Luke.
Listen, I understand.
All right? I'm masquerading my argument so that they don't do this, so that the Magic for the next 3 to 4 years until we're actually, hopefully, please God, a contender, the Magic are still in the playoffs and having reasons to play games in March and April and get Jonathan Isaac, Mo Bamba, Chuma Okeke, Markelle Fultz playoff experience.
Listen, I'm all for it. I'm all for getting the Magic more experience.
Doesn't sound like it.
I am. I think I've got my basketball, my NBA hat on when I'm talking about this. But because, Jonathan, my hope is that one day it won't matter what the conferences are. It won't matter if there are conferences. The Orlando Magic will just be the 1 seed regardless.
Right.
That's my dream.
All right. So let me just kind of like throw this out for you. So, all right. So I'm going to go like each seed. So 1 seed of the East, 1 seed of the West. So right now, Milwaukee's at 53 wins. The Lakers are at 49 wins. Toronto's at 46. The Clippers are at 44. Boston's at 43. Denver's at 43. Miami's at 41. Utah's at 41. Indiana's at 39. OKC's at 40. So you see what I'm saying? Like it's not that bad. Like the discrepancy isn't as big as some people make it out to be, in my opinion.
The discrepancy comes with really the 7 and 8 seed typically.
Right. And then you argue that some of those Western teams, their records are lower because they're playing Western teams all the time and playing, a higher level of competition and everything like that. So I see both sides, but I want the freaking Magic be in the playoffs. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah. And let's just point out the Mavs right now, who are the 7 seed, would be the 5 seed in the East. So,
but that's all right. We're talking about a difference of 4 games there, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at the win column; it's still different. It's it's still different. It's all I'm saying. I agree that we should root for the Magic and root for their success. I get it. It's not that much of a discrepancy. Obviously, if someone in the front office of the NBA sat down with me and explained to me why we still have conferences right now,
They would say we're trying to keep the Magic in the playoffs, Luke. Just go with it. That's what they would say.
Then the next argument is, I don't know why divisions exist.
Yeah, I get it. I don't understand that.
It creates a little bit of a rivalry because you play each other a little more than you do the other people in your conference, like one more time or whatever, one or twice. I think one more time. But yeah. We got off on a little tangent there, but that's all right.
That's a six-man show, baby. That's show business.
It is.
But no, I don't really. I think conferences were probably there. Well, this is the logic that I have is back in the day where you weren't necessarily flying, charter to every other city. Sometimes you were, taking buses or whatever the case was. It's just easier to play those teams more frequently that are closer to you for travel purposes. Nowadays, traveling is a lot more streamlined. It's a lot easier than it was 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. But it's something that you see in every single sport. Every single sport has, at least American sports, every sport has divisions. Talk about the NFL, NFC East, AFC East, all that stuff.
Football has conferences, which I understand a lot more. But so, Jonathan, if you had to decide, would you say throwing the Magic bias?
So I'm taking my bias hat off.
Yes, taking it out the window, right? Throwing it out the window. What are you a bigger, like, what are you supporting the most? Which idea of return? Would you like classic? Would you like finishing the regular season? Like, what do you think?
Okay, so in my personal opinion, throwing the Magic aside, what I would want to see is try to get back to the regular NBA calendar as quickly as possible, whether that be, it's probably not going to happen next season. I would be a proponent of shortening next season and then getting us back on the cyclical NBA season that we're all accustomed to now because of TV deals and stuff like that. I understand why that might not be possible. But what I would like to see is whatever is going to just make for the most entertainment at the end of the day. If the league feels like mixing this up, making it 1 through 16 is going to just reinvigorate the playoffs, and it's going to be new, it's going to be different, everybody's going to be interested in seeing what's going to happen. I, for the most part, have been a fan of almost all decisions that Adam Silver has made since becoming the commissioner of the league. I think he has the league's best interest in mind, not only in the short term, but also for the long term over the next 20 to 30 years to globalizing the game and seeing the success that soccer has had, obviously, in so many other countries. It's the most popular sport in the world. Yeah. You can't really blame a guy that's looking to follow that model.
Yeah, I mean, it's had success.
With all that being said, putting my hat back on,
yeah,
just get the Magic in the playoffs. If they win a playoff series, I wouldn't be too mad at that either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I get it. I think at this point, I'm in let's get weird mode. Put me in the groups. Put me in the group stages. Let's see what happens. There's a reason they play the games, Jonathan, and who knows? Maybe somehow the Magic are best fit to thrive in group stages. We don't know. We don't know. That's a whole other dynamic. We don't know. There's teams that are good in regular season, don't perform as well in the playoffs. Who knows? Maybe there's a whole other dynamic we don't know about, and it's called NBA group stages.
I'm saying most, if not all of this in jest. What it really comes down to at the end of the day, if the Magic are good, they'll win games. If they're not, they won't, and they'll be sitting at home. Right? And that's at the end of the day, we're talking about the NBA Finals. We're talking about finding the best team in the NBA. This is where legacies are built, right? If the Magic are good, they'll win games and they'll move on. They'll get out of the group stage if that's what the league decides to do. If not, they'll be sitting at home because that's where they deserve to be.
Yeah.
Right? If you couldn't understand my sarcasm, I apologize. Let me tell you where I stand.
I think it was communicated, but you can continue.
Listen here, all right, buddy. Look, okay. No, what I'm saying is now you threw me off track. I kind of forgot what I was gonna say, but I would rather the Magic go through the bumps and bruises and earn it the old-fashioned way. I'm not looking for the Magic to be handed anything, but I wouldn't be all that mad at it either. But
do you think if the group stages goes well and ratings are through the roof, which, by the way, they're gonna be
100%,
regardless.
Yeah.
But if it's gonna, you pretty much have to adjust for inflation at that point. But do you think if group stages goes exceedingly well, that they would even entertain doing that in the future if it goes well.
I think you have to. Like, if it's just so lucrative and it's through the roofs and everyone says, oh, my gosh, we love this so much, to do this every year, like, the NBA would be silly not to do that.
I think it would be fun. The NBA is pretty progressive in how they do things, as we were seeing with even the thoughts are just entertaining. They're pioneering, I think, a way of, baseball. They don't like change in baseball.
Right. The fans don't like change.
Right. The fans just don't like change, and therefore there's kind of what they receive as a result is pretty negative feedback when they do change much. But when it comes to the NBA, the fans are progressive when it comes to it. Our commissioner is progressive. I think Adam Silver is definitely the right guy for that job because he's crushed it in pretty much every facet, right? So I would love to see it succeed. I'd love to see the NBA pioneer a whole other way to do a postseason. Obviously, we'd be getting it from soccer, but in terms of kind of that, the American sport, I think that in American sports that would be pretty cool to see us take. There's not many positive notes to take out of soccer solely because it is a corrupt organization.
You're talking about FIFA specifically.
Yeah, specifically FIFA, yes. But
we don't think all soccer is corrupt.
I'm not blanketing that. I apologize. So, FIFA. But I do think that group stages is something that's very intriguing. I think it gives it's interesting. It'll be fresh this year if they do go that route. So I'm interested to see, regardless of what they do. Like you said, we just want basketball back, but it would be fun to see it done a little different.
Well, it wouldn't be completely foreign, to at least a small group of players in the NBA, like anyone that has, or even some of the younger players that have taken, participation in some of these like FIBA, 17 and under competitions, or like the FIBA World Championships, where you do play in the group stage before they get into like that final tournament. So it wouldn't be, it's not, completely unheard of, in basketball, just, as far as the NBA goes.
Right.
And obviously I'm a huge fan of the NBA, obviously, but the NFL also. I understand that the NFL is the most popular professional sports league in this country. But when you look globally, the NBA is much more popular than the NFL. So I think Adam Silver is just trying to build off of that in the way that David Stern was able to take the National Basketball Association and globalize it, much due to the help of Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, a lot of those guys. But Adam Silver is looking to take that even a step further and kind of see like what is like the undiscovered frontier that the NBA could use to reach out to fans all over the globe. As we know, there's going to be an African, is it the National African Basketball League, or excuse me, I don't remember the exact name and the acronym that they're going to use, but we know that that's something, that is going to come to fruition pretty soon. So, but yeah, man, I'm excited. At the end of the day, just going to be really thankful to have basketball back. I definitely will not be taking it for granted.
So I believe I'm looking at the correct thing. It looks kind of like an NBA logo. The BAL, Basketball Africa League.
There we go.
Looks like there are 12 teams for the 2020 season, what it says. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely is there. But, yeah, you've definitely seen Adam Silver be kind of pioneer this expansion of the NBA, make it go global officially. I think it's sports is just such a positive light, as we've seen. It's a distraction from the real world. When we just need to escape and get away. I think it's an incredible outlet, obviously, as sports is in general. But specifically basketball, brings me a lot of joy. And so to see it go global and touch so many lives everywhere, and just the joy of what basketball brings, like I said, I fully support Adam Silver and how he handles things. I think he is a very incredible commissioner. And let's play basketball.
Play ball. I know that's a baseball reference, but it fits here. So, Luke, anything else, buddy?
No, man. I think I'm good.
All right, guys. Well, we're excited for the NBA to come back, and hopefully we will hear a decision on that sooner rather than later. I know the NBA Board of Governors is just continuing to go through that process, so hopefully next week we will have an update for you guys, and we'll be able to talk more about that and to get into all the details and what we're going to be looking at what looks like basically 2 months from today. Hopefully we'll be getting back to NBA basketball. So, but thank you guys so much for listening. Once again, we appreciate that. We're going to keep coming with the episodes every single Monday. For Luke, this has been Jonathan. We will catch you guys next time. See ya.